Dunstan is a social worker and Chief Emeritus of British Columbia's Lytton First Nation. Over 400 square miles, the Stein Valley is the ancestral home of her people. As chief during the 1980s, Ruby Dunstan fought long and hard to save the Stein from logging, developing a broad network of support.
That wisdom that comes from indigenous perceptions all around the planet.
26,000 people attended the 1989 Voices for the Wilderness Festival. Ruby Dunstan was named Mother of the Stein.
Keep going, and keep fighting.
The Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society has honored her with its Harkin Conservation Award. When her busy schedule allows, Ruby Dunstan visits the Stein close to Lytton, BC. Ruby Dunstan, down to earth.
Hi, I'm Ruby Dunstan. I'm an Tlaikatmach person. I come from the Lytton First Nation, and as you can see, we're at the Stein Valley Heritage Park. The mandate that we got from our elders was to keep the valley as pristine as possible. The archaeologists that have been into the valley have found things that tell them that our people have used the Stein for tens of thousands of years. When I first came to be, I was born on a flat not too far from here. And my parents, my mom and my dad, were both born here. My grandparents were born here, and their parents and their grandparents were also born here. So, that goes back a lot of years. And my parents and my grandparents told me that if you really believe in something, you stand up and you fight for it. When I was a kid, I used to run through here barefoot. Yeah. On the map, they call it Stein Creek, but then Tlaikatmach people call it Last Chance Creek. This is the Asking Rock. See, there's paintings up there. Some you can still see there. Who did these? Was it my great-great-great-grandfather or my great-great-great-uncle, or who did the paintings? Because our people a long time ago used to come and sit on this ledge, these ledges along here, and they would do their fasts and they would do their vision quests here. The elders always tell us when we're going to go into the Stein that we have to stop here and do our offering to the people in the valley, because if you don't do your offering, you can get hurt in there, anything can happen to you in there. So we always try to, I know every time I come into the valley or I'm going into the valley, I always try to do an offering so that I'll be taken care of while I'm in there. Elders tell us that the trail that we walk when we go through the Stein has been there for thousands of years, and that people from Mount Currie used to come over and trade with our people. And our people would go over there. Sometimes they'd just trade or have potlatches, whatever. Sometimes they had war, especially when the men from our community would go over to their community and steal the women. Because everybody was related over here. They had to go over to Mount Currie to steal women for their wives. That's the story. And the same thing with Mount Currie. They used to come over here to steal our women because they were related to everybody back home. So they used to have wars. Beautiful country, eh? I don't know what you mix in it. I don't know how you fix it so that it tastes like candy, but boy, oh boy, I've had some and it tastes good, I tell you, it does. Here's where we'd go fishing. Sometimes if we caught a lot of the trout, we'd smoke it and put it away for the winter. And then other times we just caught enough to eat for supper because it just tastes good. See all these here? That's gum. It's what we used to chew when we were kids. Eh? The bigger the bumps, the bigger the gum was. Kind of tastes awful, but I think our parents used to tell us to chew it because it was a medicine. They used to tell us it was gum. You know, this trail, most of the use for this trail close to the river is used for hunting or for trapping, or a long time ago when people used to trap, this is the trail they used to use so that nobody got lost in the snow or anything like that. Like my dad used to say that the Stein is the fridge for the people. And I believe that because I remember all the foods we used to gather and all the medicines that we used to gather. And I remember after I had my children, I got really ill, and they say it was rheumatoid arthritis. And the doctors didn't know what to do with me because I just kept swelling up and swelling up my body. I couldn't even feed myself. I couldn't do anything for myself because my fingers and everything were just so puffed that if I poked it with a pin, I'm sure it would have burst all over. And I told my mom I'm sick of being sick like this. So she said, okay, I'll take you out of the hospital for a day or two and then we can fix some medicine for you. So she came into, I don't know where she went to get the medicine, but the medicine she got, she used it for 2 days. And after the second day, I was better, and I've never ever had any more problems with rheumatism or anything else. Probably get arthritis now that I'm older, but that was when I was very young when this happened. So I remember the things that my mom did to help me get better. And I was very thankful that she found that medicine here in the Stein. I know, and my grandmother and my grandfather and my parents always told me that we were always an organized society. So we were an organized society way before the white man came into our territory. So, you know, I guess one thing I really dislike is what people believe. They read in the history books and say that we're savages. I haven't seen a savage yet, but I've been called one, and it's not very good. Whenever the people here pray, they always talk about the power of the water. If I want to shed tears for something that whatever I shed tears for, if I go to the water and I tell the water to take my tears away and don't let them come back, then that would be the end of my crying for whatever it is that I'm crying about. And it works. Wow, there's holes. Holy. Isn't that something? Goes to show how powerful it is. Look at it. Just, ooh. Just, it's so, I don't know, it just blows my mind to see it just rushing along like that. This is just something else. I'm glad this is my home.
Down to Earth continues with Ruby Dunstan in British Columbia's Stein Valley.
We started the rediscovery camp in about 1987. When we started out with just children coming in, then youth coming into the camp, and then as we learned more and as we learned how to deal with the camp and everything else that was happening around the camp, with the camp, then we started broadening our vision, and we were inviting children from other areas. We had youth coming from Alberta, and we had youth coming from as far away as Montana. We had youth coming from Ontario to come and spend 2 weeks in this area. If we had children from, say, the Shuswap Nation coming to the rediscovery camp, we would bring in a Shuswap elder to teach them about their beliefs and their traditional ways and everything using our setting. And it was going really good. And then all of a sudden, I guess, because of the politics that are involved with such an issue as the Stein Valley, the funding started getting cut off, and we had to close the camp down. And we feel that if we could reopen our rediscovery camp and our rediscovery program, that all the children will then have a really good break that's so badly needed. One day when we had the rediscovery camp going, we got a call from the cook up here, and she said she needed some groceries. So she gave me the list over the phone, and I went shopping and called the chopper and had it brought in. I came up with the chopper, and after we dropped off the groceries, I sat on the riverbank just over here and sitting there just enjoying the day and the afternoon, and it was so nice and warm, and after being in a hectic office and coming out here, it was really a nice switch. And I was sitting there just looking at the water and saying, gosh, that stump is floating. The kids must be pushing stumps into the river. I was sitting there looking, and I kind of came to and I said, hey, that's not a stump. And just when I thought that, this stump sat up and it was sitting in the water. It was a grizzly bear, and you could just see its nose twitching away, and it was sniffing around, looking around. I guess it was comfortable with everything that was around, and it laid back in the water and continued floating down the river. And I said, gosh, how neat, all the noise the kids were making, and still that grizzly bear felt that comfortable just to go floating by. When you see trees such as this, you can understand why the loggers wanted to get into the Stein, to log trees like this. And to me, this is old growth. And when people get into old growth, well, my experience is that all you see in their eyes is dollar signs. And that to me is so sad, because their lives are so controlled by money that they can't see the forest for the trees. You know, because for us to have something like this, where our rediscovery camp is really, really, really something that our people treasure, you know, and we know that we can make things happen in this valley given the chance. Thousands of years ago, people from all over the Pacific Northwest used to come into the Stein Valley to get their training to become medicine people. The people from the spirit people from the valley would let these people know if they had passed everything, and then they would be graduated to the next area. And it would continue like that. Sometimes for some people it took more than 40 years. Pictographs have been here for, according to the archaeologists that have done work in the valley, they've been here for tens of thousands of years, to use their words. To me, that indicates that's how long the Antlakatmikh people have been here. To me, when somebody says tens of thousands of years, I can only go back so far. But when I think about that, it's a long, long, long time ago. And to me, that means a lot, because it's been with our people for that long. And when I come into the valley, I feel that I am honored and humbled to be here. Some of us were in residential school, you know. Little did I know when I was there that there were some people were being sexually abused. And I myself suffered a lot of physical abuse from the supervisors and all the different staff that they had. And I have scars on my body from my head down to my back from all the whippings that I got. And a lot of people say, you know, to forgive is divine. And I'm not too sure about that, because during the time that I was a chief in the 80s and the residential school abuse broke, and I found out how much abuse was going on just with the residential school right in our community. It really shook the community. And when people when some of the fellas were getting subpoenas to appear in court to press charges against the people that had abused them, some of them couldn't handle letting the public know what had happened to them, so they commit suicide. And when as a chief, I was called to go and identify these people, whether they pulled them out of the river when they jumped off the bridge, or whether they pulled the gun on themselves, or however they choose to take their own life. I was the one that was called to go and identify them. I was the one that had to go and notify the parents. And so when somebody talks about forgiving, I find it really hard to try and understand when somebody says to forgive is divine. And I guess I have a long way to go with my own healing to be in a position to better understand what that means. We've been suppressed and oppressed for so long that we don't know, I don't know if we'll ever see the day when we get out of that oppression and that suppression, so that we can stand up and be tall and be proud of who we are. I know we are proud of who we are right now, but I know it'll mean much more when we deal with all these issues, and that we'll become more proud. We'll have so much pride, our chests will be sticking way out. I remember my grandmother telling me that the people never ever had to go to church. They just come to places like the Stein. She used to say this is what God and Creator made for the people, that He's not fussy, He'll listen to you wherever He is. Wherever you are, He'll hear you. So I always try to hang on to that.